My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Nunas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And have you ever found yourself like watching a show and then you're like getting really, really into it and you realize there's a really important reason why your emotions are like really into the scene? That would be the soundtrack. That's right. Today we are talking about soundtracks or OSTs specifically in K-dramas, which are those fun little songs that are written and recorded specifically for the shows. They come in all sorts of genres and from all sorts of artists. And we're gonna talk about them.
I mean, if you have been listening to us, we did talk in the past about K-pop to K-drama, the pipeline and how it goes both ways. Some people start in K-pop and then follow their idols into the acting. And then some of us, this would be my direction, was start with the K-dramas and then, ooh, that song's cool. And that actor is a singer and you follow that into K-pop. They're very integrated. They're very connected. The whole thing, though, apparently, I was looking into it a little bit, and the thing with the OSTs, the way we have them now, with those few OSTs that get repeated over and over again, and you know, the marketing for that and everything is really only started around 2010. So they've been doing that for about a decade, because at some point, the K-drama world realized there was money to be made in soundtracks. They could recoup some of the cost of, you know, you can release a really nice little soundtrack with the photo book, and you don't have to really do anything new. You were already paying for licensing for music. You were already paying these people to do promotional photos. So now you can just also make more money off of that. And they noticed too that that's around when K-pop started really taking off internationally. So it was sort of like, oh, there's like money here. And K-dramas started to get more popular too. And they were just like, we see where we could make some money.
Yes.
Because if you do like go back and watch older ones, like I was watching Coffee Prince this year, and there isn't that song that plays at every time they look into each other's eyes. It's that one song playing in the background. Like it was just stuff on the radio. Like it was just music that was popular at the time, which is sort much more like the North American model. Yeah, like there's just music playing because music. And I did see some people, like new K-drama people, asking about that. Like, why is the same song playing over and over and over?
Well, young Padawan.
And like somebody on
already paid for
they
it.
paid them to record it. They're gonna play it 500 times. Okay?
They're getting their money's worth.
Somebody said you have to think of it as like, instead of thinking of it like a television show, think of a K-drama as a really long movie. So it's got a set movie length soundtrack, but it's just getting reused in every single, iteration of the movie. Every segment of the movie, they're gonna play the soundtrack. So you have to listen to the whole soundtrack.
Now,
every single set.
Not all shows abuse this quite so badly. But a few of them, they're really getting their money's worth. We'll talk about that in a little bit, because I'm sure there's some that we all know that are like, I wanted to kill that song by the end of that show.
Or there's the ones that like just triggered, like you see a screenshot or a GIF, and like you start, the song is playing in your head because you know. And that's
every time I see.
Natalia mentioned about different genres. Everybody does OSTs. It's not just the really popular K-pop stuff that you would, there's a lot of indie bands and rock bands and rap and like.
For the record, if you're confused what we mean by OST, original soundtrack.
Yes. Which apparently also, I did see a thing talking about Japanese music, the soundtracks there, because it was like a Reddit or something, and somebody was like, so where do I find like Japanese OSTs? And somebody said, well, you don't, but also it's different. And they basically said like Japanese dramas don't really have OSTs the same way. They have like title tracks or whatever, like there's a credit roll and there'll be a song with the credit roll, which is again very normal, right? Like we're used to that in Western media as well, having a theme song. A show has a theme song, and Japanese media is more like that. C-dramas, they feel like they've adopted that Korean method a little bit more. They're pushing that, okay, we've got Chinese idols and we could be doing this too. So let's make more money. We like money. Let's do it.
I feel like Taiwanese dramas have a totally different feel with how they use.
Yeah, because they tend to pick an artist. Like this artist goes with this drama. Here's the script, read some script, and then come up with some songs that go with our drama.
But then also the episode is usually broken up. It's probably like the commercial breaks and stuff when you're watching it. But every single commercial break time, it'll be the main song. And you better like that song.
If you don't like that song, you are screwed for that TV series.
And vice versa, if you love that song, it can make a mediocre drama like somehow better, because it just, I always think of Behind Your Smile. That was my first Taiwanese drama. And the soundtrack, Shishi for that
sounds
like
so good.
So good.
And like honestly, people when they talk about Behind Your Smile, they're like, it's so good, and Marcus Chang and that soundtrack. And then when you actually think it through, you're like,
hey, there's Jail Girl in it. I love Jail Girl.
They spent an awful long time on that weird ass farm for this to be a good show. You know what I mean? Like,
was it enjoyable? Yes. They did not spend very much of their budget on keeping track of her hair, her hair. She had like a hair dye situation going on that was not, you could track the order that the scenes were shot in based on how long her roots were. Like, but
these things happen. These things happen.
But also, it was fun. I was obsessed with it at the time that it was airing. Like, it was so enjoyable to watch. But yeah, a lot of that has to do with the music and the fond memories that you have of it that brings up.
Listener, if you haven't watched a Taiwanese drama, you should.
They're fun.
But also just understand that when you start, feels like a title sequence 3 or 4 times an episode. It is normal. That is a very common thing to happen.
It's sort of like when you're watching certain animes and they'll have like a little like interstitial like little mini video between, like, a good example is like Full Metal Alchemist, where it would have like Full Metal Alchemist, and then like suddenly, and then it would cut again and be Full Metal Alchemist, and it would just be like a different like skin phone. That's basically what these are. Like, just to know, go take your pee break. Commercials are now.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I would like to bring up is, I'm going to think of how to actually say this. So a thing that they bring up in Korean, like K-drama pop culture stuff, and even within skits, if they're doing like a parody of a K-drama, there's this whole thing where it'll freeze frame at the end, and it'll then pop up with like the little ads at the bottom, and then it'll like of course be the main OST song blaring suddenly. The reason I bring it up is it comes up so much. Like they use that in like their Saturday Night Live stuff, or if idols are parodying something, or it's kind of used for humor a lot, because everyone immediately knows what they're trying to convey.
Like you hear like a couple bars of the music in there, everybody's like, I know what this is now.
It has like the filters, like like the little sponsors at the bottom.
When Sky said that in my headphones, almost paradise.
And
it was just like so good. She was like, and they stop and they look. Almost. Whoa, that was good timing.
like Almost Paradise, I think, is the
The
perfect example of one where you're like, all right, that's enough slices. That's enough
We got
slices.
it.
Enough with this.
but I think it can be good, that repetition, because they do seem to pick songs that are sort of like, this is going to be this character's sad theme, or this is
This
going to be this
leitmotif.
character's whatever. And then when you start to hear it play and you know what kind of scene is coming, you know what
Yeah.
emotions you're supposed to be feeling here. I find a lot of the time at the end of the drama, especially if they have like suspenseful reveals or something, and it's like something's happening and you're sort of like, yeah, okay, and then that song will start playing and you're like, oh, something's coming, they're gonna tell us that something is coming, like I don't know
it's
what,
sort of
but I'm supposed
funny-
to be wondering who's walking through that door, because that
And-
song means
and
something's
sort of
happening.
like a funny sort of like this sort of the leitmotif, like sort of playing with your emotions, doesn't just exist in Korean stuff, because I know for a fact my poor mother, okay, my poor mother, hello mother, if you're listening, I'm calling you out now, that when she watches suspenseful stuff, she will mute it
Yeah.
because the music is making her anxious, and
Yeah.
she's like, I can't with the music, so
Yep.
it does exist in all genres, but K-dramas have really perfected
I
the art
love
of the
about
leitmotif.
K-dramas though, when they get to the suspenseful part, it doesn't matter. The rest of the soundtrack is all ballads or trot
Yeah.
or something, and then when it gets
Yeah.
to that suspenseful part, it will be a rock song. It'll be like a
Yeah,
heavy
yeah.
metal rock song. It'll just come out of nowhere too. You're like,
Well,
yeah,
what's
come
the
on.
best part is when it's a sageuk or historical drama, and you
The
know
rap songs.
you've mostly been vibing with the ballads because they feel
Yeah.
not that they're historically accurate, but they feel historically accurate
They're
for
like
some reason,
fantasy,
kind of.
like fantasy,
know.
and you know.
So feels right, and then all of a sudden, oh, I hear electric guitar. Whoa!
It's I always, the ones that got me were always the rap songs in a sageuk, and it would be
Mhm.
like suddenly like, and you're like,
Okay.
all right, and like it's one thing if it's one of those like comedic light sageuk,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I'm already in that place of like suspension of disbelief, like this is amusing, right? But like you're watching something like really heavy, like one of those like 50 episode like dark heavy, this is history, and then there's like Simon Dominic like drops a beat and you're like, what are you
I
doing?
don't know. This
This does not
ain't
belong
it,
here.
fam.
Like,
Well, I forget which drama it was, but it was a sageuk. But like like one of the songs they picked that they played a lot sounded like vaguely Celtic, and like every time it would play, I'd be like, nah, this ain't it, fam. This ain't it. Like this is the wrong vibe.
That's a good point, though. Like, I mean, there are times that songs work very, very, very well, and they use it, appropriately, or even it helps. To me, like, I've been watching Happiness lately,
Oh,
and I
we
will
are not
say,
worthy.
and
Yes.
of course, I'm not, like, I'm only halfway through something, but since they pick the songs that they pick,
Mhm.
really, really help. I mean, not to say there is a certain song that they do use to like up the suspense
Mhm.
that has like
Yeah.
breathing in it, so that's a thing. But they kind of have this lighter song
Mhm.
that because
Mhm.
they use it, it helps the tone a lot for
Yeah.
me. Like
Yeah.
it definitely sets the tone. It'll kind of be a suspenseful moment, and they'll kind of play that song, and it like really it
Relieves
affects
your
the show a
tension.
lot.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
song affects the show so much for me because it does. It made me. Oh, I should breathe here. Like it helps.
Yeah.
uh-huh.
It helps the watcher. So anyway, I was gonna say something else, but there are times it's either used well or used very, very, very
Mhm.
intentionally, and that helps really set the tone. But there are also times that like it is not used very well at all.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we brought up the historical thing, but there's also other times that you might like really be enjoying the tone of the show. If you're bringing in a song that's really discordant with that, like it really
Yeah.
throws stuff off.
A
Or,
lot
like,
of
if-
times
if
it's
you
like
use a
funny
song-
music, the jaunty music playing, and you're like, this is not funny. This is serious, and this is making me think that you think that this is a joke. and it
Yeah.
shouldn't be taken that way, you know, like it's a little jarring.
And
Yeah.
occasionally there will be a song that they've decided, yeah, this is it. This is the song. And they play it so much that you're like, this ain't it, Chief. I'm looking at you, Something in the Rain.
Yes, I
Because
was about to say that. Something in the rain. Oh my
My
god.
God.
Oh, something in the
Did you
rain.
only buy one song?
They had
the
to, and it was
entire,
literally they played that song every chance they got. Every chance, to the point I was
It
like,
was too
dear
much.
God, I cannot listen to this song anymore. Stop it.
Yeah, please. Enough.
And it's
Enough with
a
the
nice
song.
song. Like, I mean, I enjoyed
Yeah.
the song before that drama, but yeah, I mean, I kind of wonder, like, that was one of the first ones that wound up being on Netflix, like as it aired and stuff too. And I kind of wonder if that was part of it. Like, they wanted the rights to that song because it had a meaning to the director or the writer or whatever. But like, if that was part of it too, they wanted like a recognizable like Western song because they were trying to like bridge that gap. I don't know. It was just really odd. Like, it was a weird choice. And it
Yeah, but
It was nice the first couple times.
Netflix
It was
got
nice
it
the
as
first
at,
couple
like after
times,
it
but-
aired.
I thought
Yeah.
that one, but they got it when it aired because it showed somewhere. I remember because that one of those ones that it was like it showed somewhere as it was airing, and then other places it didn't show up until after, and then it was like a weird.
Yeah, like in
Because I know for a
Canada,
fact that it didn't come here airing because I waited
in
for
Canada,
it.
in Canada, it aired as it was going on. Like, it was like a week behind.
Mm.
And then in Canada, so it would be like a week behind in Canada, and then after it was finished, they put it all on the US one.
Yeah,
They did it. They did it with a
but
couple
it's
of
also
them.
not a
Brazil
Netflix
got it,
show. Like,
No, it wasn't a Netflix
it was like
original or anything.
TVN or
No.
something. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But God had to let it. That
Oh my
song
God, that
haunted my nightmares.
song.
Is it just because they overplayed it? Was that?
Oh, it was like
every other scene. It
I
was
can't
playing.
even express to you how much they overplayed it. Like, it was obnoxious.
It
It
was
got
the only
to the
song they
point
played.
where
It
you
was
were like,
like-
I can't do this. I cannot hear this song anymore. And
It
they would
actually
try to
made-
switch it up and like jump to a different part in this song, but it's like still. And what
The
is
same song,
what is
yeah.
that song too?
Stand
I
by
don't
your
even-
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stand by Your Man.
Stand
It was like
by
a-
your man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like a rendition of it, like
Mhm.
someone
Yeah,
else.
they
obviously.
played it so much that it actually decreased the quality of the show.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it made the show worse by having that, which is a problem if you pick a bad OST. It's gonna make your show worse. And I'm not saying that song's a bad song. It's not. But after the 90th time hearing it in like a 4-episode period, you're like, okay, this song, enough with this song. Enough with this
Mhm.
song. I'm done with this song now.
And I'm sure you're hoping that maybe they were heavy-handed with it the first couple of episodes and got over it. You know, no.
That was the hope. But no,
Yes.
every episode throughout the entire
Every episode, all the
that
time.
was rough. That was a rough go.
Didn't even have to be both of them together too. It could just
No.
been like one of them thinking about the other. Oh God.
And I mean, and it was in all the promotional material too, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was like all the
Clearly, someone behind the scenes had a hard on for this song and just couldn't let it go. They loved it.
Mhm.
Ay, 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 ay.
So let's talk about like the different genres, like kind of what OSTs what types of songs they typically go for.
Do you like ballads? Well, you're in luck
It's mostly
because you're
ballads.
going to hear a lot of ballads across all genres, except for maybe like horror and thriller. There'll be less ballads, but there'll still be a few.
They'll still throw them in.
They
Yeah,
sometimes
we can do a
go
little
for
flavor.
like they'll go for the more unique voices, like the Janet's like her she did a lot of the ones for It's Okay to Not Be Okay.
Be
Like,
Okay,
she's
yeah.
got that kind of like ethereal kind of weird sounding voice that really
Mhm.
works for giving you a bit of a creepy, you know, so they'll
Yeah.
they'll still have a ballad, but it'll have something about it that maybe is a little
Mhm.
weirder or
Mhm.
whatever, more haunting.
You like Ailey? OST's gonna be your friend. You a fan of Chen from EXO? Well, don't worry. He's everywhere. OSTs fucking love him. Punch? Oh, they're
So
Crush?
you.
Got him. They
from
got it.
Star. She's in
Yep.
a bunch. A lot of like your
Mellowmance,
female,
like back
yeah.
before Mellowmance went into the military. I mean, they're out now, you know, but man, there was a couple of years there where it was like, did you write a rom-com if you didn't have Mellowmance on the soundtrack? Because
I don't think you did.
no, that's obviously not a rom-com because there was no Mellowmance. Like
In the more recent years, if you like sort of the unique voice that is Wusong from The
Mhm.
Rose, he does quite a few.
yeah. Well,
Um,
and like in genre things that like, especially with like the darker shows, they tend to give the more rock
Yeah.
songs
Rock
to
and
that.
rap, that sort of thing.
Rap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're a little bit heavier too. They're just like they're like, oh, rock and rap will go on that. But like with like family dramas or like the everyday dramas or the like
Mhm.
soap dramas, you know, those type of dramas, you'll see a lot more like trot and traditional Korean music
Yeah.
because it's catered towards
The older audience.
yeah, the age group that's really kind of focused on that.
Some like you'll still get some light K-pop, like some light, like the really, really light poppy pop, you know, that almost feels folksy. Like
Mhm.
you'll get some of that.
Mhm.
You know, in the more melodramatic, you get a lot of ballads. You get a lot of, you know, sad sounding, like wistful things.
Mhm.
You know, not a lot of like, you know, if you're into like sort of fourth gen K-pop, that's not a very common vibe on OSTs.
No.
It does exist, but it's
Mhm.
rarer.
But what is a fun game is, because I've done this, definitely it's easy for like let's say you're watching a K-drama with an idol in it as one
Yeah.
of the main leads. And I'm not talking like a web drama, but like, you know, actual larger drama.
Yeah.
What's nice, the idol will likely end up singing an OST song, likely a ballad, but not on the soundtrack. If you when you're watching the show, like they'll be in a bar and they'll be playing, you know, one of their group's songs. Like I get a huge kick out of that. Or it's just fun to then listen to, like sometimes it has nothing to do with whatever idol's in it, or if there's not an idol in the show at all. But it's kind of a nice little
Easter egg?
Easter egg, but also kind of like a time capsule. Like
Oh yeah.
because quite often it'll be like kind of the most popular, one of the really popular K-pop songs. Again, that doesn't end up on the OST, but I always think that's a fun thing to like listen for. Definitely when it's one of my idol children that's like in it, I'll be listening, and then on Twitter everyone will be like, "Yep, they played a song from the group." Yeah.
And then occasionally non-idol actors will just randomly also record an OST for the show that they're in. Like I know that Park Bo Young did a few of the OSTs for Oh My Ghost, and our old friend Roy Bang. That's not his name. All I saw was Roy Bang. I know that's his fake name when he makes songs in Japan. Oh my god, what is his name? Like, thank you, Sung Hoon. He will do, you know, he'll show up on the OSTs for his show.
I used to find it really, really weird to watch a drama and it would have an idol actor in it, like as a side role or something, and they don't have an OST, and you're like, they're right there. Like, they're right there. Like, why wouldn't you capitalize on that?
That was like something that was like really big, actually. Like the earlier dramas, you wouldn't hear these idols doing songs on the OST at all. The only time you'd hear it is they might do a song and it actually it's not really part of the OST because it's never actually part of the show. You only see it as like basically like a promotional music video. Now you kind of see more. There are like some idols who are in lead roles actually getting OSTs, but like actually for the most part, if an idol is in your cast, they're not doing any of the main OST. Like they're definitely not going to be the song you hear all the time, or a song at the end or anything like that.
Which I guess, I mean, especially if you're doing a more serious drama, like if it was a light rom-com, you could probably get away with having that a little bit more. But if you're doing like a serious mellow, and then like you're doing Just Between Lovers, and suddenly you hear Junho like singing over top of his sad scene, it would take you out of it a little bit, right? Like you'd
be like, wait, what?
Well, I mean, like he does have a song for it, but like,
yeah, but like it just,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like some of those songs, you might just kind of go, wait, that's weird. Like it just doesn't fit here, you know? It just always does seem weird because like part of the reason they cast idol actors is to bring that fan base in, and then to not capitalize on that by also putting their music on your soundtrack seems,
well, I guess it could also
like a miss.
be something but we don't know, like maybe with the contracts, it could be one of those things. But also I can see it as a thing is like, okay, you have an idol in your cast and that's your reasoning for getting people onto the show. Now don't use them in one of the OST spots, get someone else who's a special idol so you get their fan base.
Yep, that's true. That's true.
One thing to mention is, so like, let's say you're watching a currently airing K-drama and you are really digging the soundtrack. And let's say you have Spotify or something, a streaming service that you usually get songs pretty quick when they're released, even internationally. Sometimes there might be quite a delay with some of the songs. In case you're unaware, sometimes the way that they release songs is singles as the show is airing.
And they put them in parts. Part one, which is
but then every once in a while, like some of the singles they'll drop might not be the one that, you know, the song that you really enjoy, you know, we're looking for. So you have to you might have to wait until the end of the show, and that might be kind of when the main OST releases, and then there's that song.
The song Superpower Girl from Strong Woman Do Bong Soon. I remember that like everybody wanted that song. That was the only song people cared about. Like, we want this one. They had no plans to release it because it wasn't, I don't think it was even a full song initially. And they were like, and there was no plan, but everybody wanted that song. So it wound up being released like a week or two after the show had finished airing.
That's what
and then they put out the full thing.
The opening for Goblin. It was only recorded for the opening, and so then they had to get Hayes on it or whoever.
I think so.
Like the rest of it because they couldn't work out the contract to get the full song, which is so bizarre. And that's also on another thing with like OSTs that I kind of found like really crazy is you don't know people are going to be on an OST until like literally 4 hours before.
You're listening to them sing it while you're watching the show, and you're like,
it's kind of crazy. Like there are some that like, you know, they'll announce it like a little bit ahead of time, but it's only within a couple of days. But most of the time the OST song will literally be the day of the airing song. And it's just like a standard thing for it. Like it's a little weird because you never get to like prepare as much. You're like, or you're just like sitting there and you're like, oh my god, I know that voice.
When it's like a big name, it's just really weird that they wait to say something.
Because it seemed like that would be the perfect way
song
to like,
you know, it's
help
not like
advertise
they just finished
the show
the song
and the
then.
Right.
Once in a while there'll be like a song that comes out be like completely contrary to what you're expecting that singer to produce, and then you're just so surprised. And the one that I'm thinking of is from Cinderella and the Four Knights,
Jessie,
and Jessie's song My Romeo, which is a
Love
great
that
song but sounds nothing like anything else she's ever done. It's so good but so bizarre.
That's why it's funny if you come in, let's say you haven't listened to whatever artist before and you really enjoy the song from the soundtrack, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna go check this artist out. It's like I really like their voice or whatever. You are not guaranteed that is the same vibe that the rest of their catalog is, but sometimes it is. Like Mellowmance, for an example. Like sometimes, that's definitely kind of the music that they put out anyway. But for instance, like definitely with Idol Kids, for instance, a lot of the Ace idols, like they're on various soundtracks these days. Ace does some ballads, but that is not their main go-to typically. No. So it's interesting. It's funny if you're coming to a soundtrack side and then trying to check somebody out.
I think it was the Guardian soundtrack that Jennifer had a song on, and it was like a hard, like a rap, and she's great. It's a great song. I love it, but like she hasn't released a rap song since. It's been all ballads and stuff. And I'm like,
this is,
okay, I guess that's not what
OSTs
she
are
does.
they're like their experimental phase. They can like experiment with
It's
other
kind of-
genres that they don't normally do.
Or it's the genre that they kind of want to do, but they're limited in their like group.
Contract or whatever. Yeah.
It's like the singer AU to where they get to live out some other.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about like how we have encountered OSTs, or like, you know, our relationship with OSTs? Like when was maybe the first time that you really got into one?
Well, I wouldn't call it getting into one, but I certainly was assaulted by one. And from way back in the day, we've already talked about, that's right, we're talking Almost Paradise. Boys Over Flowers. Like, even people who've never seen Boys Over Flowers know Almost Paradise.
That's
like,
true.
Yeah.
Like, my husband can sing Almost Paradise. He's never watched Boys Over Flowers except like slight scenes against his will. Like,
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was Cinderella and the Four Knights. That was my, you know,
it's an
that was one.
iconic soundtrack.
And there's that one song by B2B, and it's like,
so good.
it starts up, and it kind of had that Boys Over Flowers thing where it was like, whenever there was a scene where the three cousins are all together, you get B2B.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
But like, it
And it's
really
like-
fit the vibe of the show. Like,
It did.
it's a great song, and the whole soundtrack for like, okay, I'm gonna be honest, the soundtrack for Cinderella and the Four Knights is better than the show Cinderella and the Four Knights. And I'm not saying the show's not good, because I do enjoy the show. It is fun, but the soundtrack is banger after banger.
It's
So like,
good. Yeah.
The level of fun coming out of the soundtrack is a little bit
Exceeds.
more
yeah,
than
like
what's
that
going
was
on
a
with the
show
plot.
that was,
Yeah.
it was definitely improved by the fact that its soundtrack was so good.
Exactly.
I mean, definitely Boys Over Flowers
Yeah.
was one. I went into Boys Over Flowers because of Double S 501. So like already, like it's not really part of the OST, but like Your Man is in it, you know, because they do the little clip with the rest of the boys and stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was the kind of the first one where it was like ingrained in my brain. But I think one of the first ones where I like really connected with like all of the songs on the soundtrack was the Shut Up Flower Boy Band one. And it's so good. And
so good.
I think it works really well with this series too, because it's about a rock band and, you know, their trials and tribulations of being like teenagers and in high school and stuff. But
Yeah.
it just was one of the first ones where I was like, this full soundtrack I really like all the songs, and they kind of just really fit really well with everything that's going on in the show.
I think for me, so I started watching Taiwanese dramas on Netflix first, as far as my relationship with Asian dramas. And so a couple of my first Taiwanese dramas, like Erin Yan was one of the main actors. And so I've always liked soundtracks. Like, soundtracks have always been a big thing that I've enjoyed, even Western side. So when I really got into a couple of like the Taiwanese dramas, I immediately was looking for the soundtracks, because I did want to kind of be able to experience the feelings of the drama and not, you know, as I was having to watch it, you know, outside. So, but I think the first, because I was looking back, I had to go like on a different music platform because I don't even use it anymore. But I think that the first one, Taiwanese ones aside, because to me, it was only a few of the songs that I would like really enjoy. So, but I did go search out the artists a lot from those. And I actually, like, I have a fair bit of Taiwanese music now from, like, I discovered some artists from that. It was really nice. But I would say that Heartstrings, when I came over to K-dramas, Heartstrings was really, really fun because the drama had traditional music and rock music in it, to where then even in the soundtracks they had those songs, and then there were a couple of songs that they would put those sounds together, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. But also You're Beautiful. So like You're Beautiful is kind of my main. So Fabulous Boys was the Taiwanese one, and I really got into that soundtrack. And so since it was a fake idol band, and then of course You're Beautiful, fake idol band, so I was all into that too. But as far as unique sounds, was the Heartstrings one for me.
Yeah.
I think what I'm just remembering, like listening to you talk about that too, that before I got into K-pop at all, I bought the Love Rain soundtrack because I just loved Love Rain so much and I loved the music in it so much. But somehow buying that, I didn't make the connection between that and K-pop. So like it wasn't the one that got me to start looking into K-pop at all. But like I bought the soundtrack, like you said, like it was good and I wanted that music, right? Same as Sky, like I always had movie soundtracks. That's, you know, I liked a variety of music and there's a variety of music on the soundtrack and I was cheap. So like I could buy one CD and have lots of variety. So it's always good,
it's
you know?
It's like a CD of all title tracks, you know?
Yeah, it was just always good. So
I was way into classic movies when I was younger, and so my two main ones were Singing in the Rain and Casablanca, and the way they did those soundtracks, you could almost pretty much have the entire movie like along with the lines.
Yeah.
To where I would sit there and just pretty much recite the entire that was
I used to do that with the Princess Bride soundtrack. Like I would listen to it, you know, like as sort of background noise when I sleep and stuff, but then I would sometimes like wake up because I would be at that scene or something and my brain would like wake me up like because it was like every song you were like, yep, this is that scene and this is what's happening right now, like because you just know it so well. And I like that about soundtracks. I like that about K-drama OSTs, like that if I hear Satellite by Salt and Paper, I'm gonna start crying because that's like the Chicago typewriter song and it puts me in my Chicago typewriter feels, and then I'm like, oh my heart.
Like when you have like, you know, the songs that like remind you of someone, like your like high school boyfriend or something, you're like, oh god.
You're like, oh god. Well, I also love movie soundtracks. I'm gonna date myself a little with this one. One of my most played CDs when I was younger, and this is gonna sound bizarre, but I assure you it is a sick soundtrack, is the Digimon the movie soundtrack. It's really good. Like it's surprisingly good.
I was all into like National Treasure, and I would listen to a lot of those when I was studying.
I did like the Godzilla and the werewolf.
Yeah.
And, my gosh, those. But then I also like I really love like, you know, like the instrumental stuff too. And so like I had like all the Final Fantasy soundtrack, the X-Files. Mark Snow is the music person for the X-Files, and he does some incredible stuff, and he has like all these themes for all the characters, and I would listen to that constantly, and just, you know, stuff without lyrics too. I was just so into.
Yeah.
And that is one of the nice things with Korean music. Regular K-pop stuff usually gets released with the instrumental version as well. And then in the soundtracks too, you'll find that they have the instrumental version.
Because they would use the instrumental versions in the show as the background music.
Yeah.
I think if we're talking about OSTs though, we cannot not mention the beast of an OST that was Goblin, because that OST is banger after banger. Like, listen, my husband has seen maybe one episode of Goblin. He has multiple songs from the OST on his regular playlist rotation on Spotify. Like, I did not put them there. He put them there himself. Like, iconic music on Goblin.
I know.
Like,
I was like, I remember there being something from Goblin, and then I started playing. I was like, oh yes, the Goblin.
The entire thing.
Everything.
Calling you. You're like, yeah.
Because quite
a lot of
often,
money.
Quite often on OSTs, like even ones that you really enjoy, there's really just mainly a couple songs that really stand out to you, but they use the OST very well within
very true.
Guardian.
That OST is wild. Like from beginning to end, it's just.
I think, like for me, in more recent years, the "It's Okay to Not Be Okay," like the soundtrack for that, like fueled the feeling of that show so much, and the songs were so unique and cool and fun and interesting and dark and weird. And
Hotel del Lunas did that too.
Yeah.
And I think even search WW.
Yep.
www. Search www.
Did I see right?
Netflix. It's now on Netflix. You can now watch Search www without struggling to find it.
I'm thrilled about that because I think that's a really great. Can you imagine if Search www was your first drama?
It
would only be downhill from there. It would only be downhill.
I posted one time something with, it was like, what's your favorite ever, girl power scene or something from a show? And I posted that picture of the two of them walking with the baseball bats. And I had Derby girls going, what is this show? Because I haven't watched it. And I was like, it is on Netflix. You can go watch it. You should.
And not only is it not just an isolated scene, my dear, it's the whole show. Yeah. It's the whole damn show. Do you like women who don't take other people's shit? You're gonna love Search www.
Well, I'm really thrilled it's on Netflix because I do think that, fighting the stereotype of like the passive Asian female character.
Yeah.
It's great that, I just think it being internationally accessible on Netflix.
And also it's literally, the title is impossible to Google.
They're not good with SEO.
Let's be real. It's good that it is on Netflix. So like OSTs in Korea, very different than OSTs on TV shows, say in like the West. Though like, because I feel like with the West, there's a lot less like hiring people to make songs specifically for your show.
No, like, I will float this question out there. I mean, it probably does also have to do with like budget for the show and type of show as well. So like, for instance, I don't watch Weekenders. How do Weekenders handle OSTs? Like, is that kind of a lesser thing?
They have some.
They have some, but it's usually it's not a full album. It'll be like 2 songs and then just
and it's not like a ton of like idols or big names.
Yeah. And sometimes they're hard to find. Like I do find they're more likely, if they show up on Spotify or something, they're more likely to have the names in Hangul. They're more likely to.
I shouldn't say.
I think there's.
I don't want to say like big names because they are big names. They're just not pop name. Big names.
Yeah. So when I was watching Mother of Mine, like there were 2 songs that I absolutely loved in that soundtrack, and it was really hard to find them. And I found actually how I found them initially was the same way that I tend to find them for C-dramas is if you search the name of the drama, somebody will have created a playlist and then you can go in and find all the songs in the playlist,
bless those people.
Right.
Bless those people.
Thank you. Doing the Lord's work.
That's right. They're doing God's work out here for us.
There are pretty much 2 main people on the internet that need to be blessed. The people that make those types of playlists when you can't find a song, and then the people that like take pictures on reviews of a product so you can tell if it's really like that product.
Yes. And it's like really in their kitchen or something. You're like, thank you so much for that. I just needed that.
Oh no, and even better, the people who take little videos for their reviews. Oh yeah. Who are the MVPs? Keep doing it. Circling back to like Western OSTs, I find that it depends also, like how good the OST is depends on where the show is being produced by. So for example, I know I talk about this show too much, but it is my favorite Western show. Teen Wolf was produced by MTV, and I thought the way they did their OSTs was really cool because they had a lot of different music of different genres, but every time a song was playing, the name of the song and the artist would appear as a little subtitle in the corner, so you could go find it. You weren't ever hunting for these songs. But the reason they did that is because it was MTV who was making the show, so there was a vested interest,
Back in the day, I think it was the WB, but it might have been CW, but they used to always do, if there was a song that was featured in that episode, at the end they would be like, today's music featured this by so and so, and and it was like,
they would do that thing where they throw the band in the actual episode.
Yes.
I think that's the difference. Like with Western, like depends on the age group, because I think if like the age group is younger, it's going to be more like known people and potentially not songs that were made for that specific thing, but they fit really well. You know, like they work for what the context is, but they're already big number one hits, right? And then when you get into like older stuff, it's like less actual like lyric song, like with like actual people singing, and it's kind of more of
instrumentals,
like a very like composed piece for that specific thing. And so then you have little like instrumentals in the background. I do think that like now it's kind of gotten into where it doesn't even want to like actually pay for that too. I think we've kind of gotten to a part where like Hollywood is not paying as much for those types of things too, and kind of just relying on already produced songs that are already known and just buying the rights for them.
I read an interview with a music director for Korean dramas, Nam Hye-sung, who did It's Okay to Not Be Okay and Crash Landing on You and Jealousy Incarnate and Mr. Sunshine and a bunch of different stuff. And she said, yeah, sometimes she works with like directors who are like, no, just I want a more Western sound, or I want you to just pick stuff that's more popular already. But she said most of the time, the directors she works with give her more of a free reign, and she like reads the script and then she thinks of what the tones are and what the tones are she needs for the music, and then who has a voice that fits those tones. And then, you know, she reaches out and is like, okay, can you give me a sad, like, can you give me a exciting, you know, whatever.
See, and that's the artistically authentic and honest way to do it. But as you know, the film and television is a commercial industry, sometimes those things get pushed to the wayside. Which is unfortunate.
Like the Thai drama Together, where a main plot aspect of it was the one character's love of the band Scrub. So he talked about them all the time. So I was like, okay, are they real? They are real. So then you go look them up. And if you try to look up the Together soundtrack, you'll find those like playlists that people have created, but it will literally have like every Scrub song ever on there. But like it was Scrub songs. Like I don't think any of the songs that were in there, other than the ones that were sung by the other lead, Scrub didn't write new material for the show. They just had albums and then they performed. They came on as themselves for a couple of concerts within the show and stuff. But it was kind of cool because you were like, oh, okay, now I like Scrub, so cool.
I've discovered a new band. What a delight.
But I find Thai dramas also are much, much more likely to either hire actors who can sing and then have them do songs for their soundtrack, or hire actors who can't sing and have them do songs for their soundtrack.
Yes, that
anime does that too. Anime
happen.
like usually uses a voice actor to do their songs. Like so the opening song will be by one of the voice actors in the cast.
That director whose interview I read, one of the things she said too is that what she sees about, she wants to start bringing in some other, I wrote this note down because I thought Jessie would be, you know, excited. She likes Sakai no Aware. So she'd really like to work with them on a soundtrack sometime. So
that would be great.
But she she said that what she hears from other people in the industry and stuff from other countries, like in the Philippines, they'll do remakes of K-dramas and they want to make it as K-drama like as possible. So they will tell their music directors to pick music that sounds like K-pop, that sounds like Korean music. When she is involved in something that maybe they want to do like a remake of a Western show or something, she doesn't want to do Western music. She wants to do Korean music because that's the point, right? We're here to make Korean content. So let's showcase Korean. But she said there are some, you know, foreign artists that she quite likes and would like to work with.
So I had one time when I was getting into an OST. So when I was watching The Master's Son, once many moons ago, and they played Nobody by Wonder Girls a lot. And I got really, really hooked on that song. I was like, is that like an actual group? And so it was really fun to like figure out like, wow, like that's an actual group. I don't know. It got stuck in my head just from watching it on the show because the way they used it in the show and stuff.
Yeah.
So Jesse found this quiz on Soompi, and it is about your K-drama OST vibes and like what fits your vibes. So
ooh, exciting.
We're gonna start that out. Let me see. What do you usually do for dinner? I cook something for myself.
Well,
I let my parents do the cooking. My partner or roommate cooks, and I'm ordering in again.
I cook something for myself. I have no one and I have no money.
My question is like half the time I cook and half the time my husband cooks. What do we?
I know. I'm like,
you know what?
I cook something for myself and the four other people who live here. And sometimes my partner cooks and sometimes my kids cook because we taught our kids how to cook because that's a life skill.
If only I could teach my dogs how to cook that.
All right. Question number 2 is which of these stuffed animals would you want? And there's some images of some stuffed animals. One's a little hamster looking thing. One's a very sad looking Snoopy dog.
I know.
It's like lit very depressing.
That looks like that's
Is that
from
from Boys? It might be from first. No, oh no. Oh, it's Bad Guys?
Maybe.
I don't know.
One is a little aviator bear. He's like a teddy bear with aviator goggles. One is a cute fat little pig, and one is a very black and white, dramatically shot, very soft looking bunny. I'm gonna go with the pig. There's
I want the pig, but
that
bunny looks soft and smushy, so I'm going with the bunny.
I feel sorry for the Snoopy doll. I have to pick the Snoopy doll.
I think I want to pick the bunny too. It just looks floppy and nice.
Mm-hmm. So which season are you? Are you fall, summer, spring?
I'm a fall person. For sure.
I'm a summer person.
Summer.
Oh, this is fun. Which of these is your biggest pet peeve? Loud chewers, slow walkers, people who spoil shows and movies, people who correct your grammar when texting, people who are always on their phones, all of the above.
No,
do you just hate people? Like the last one.
Okay. I have no problem with loud chewers, whatever, you do you. I do have a problem with slow walkers because I'm short and chunky and I walk really slow. And if you're walking slower than me, like what is going on here? But I think I'm gonna have to go with people who correct your grammar when texting because you texting.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with loud chewers because my teenage son does some weird, I don't know what it is, but it drives me nuts. So I have discovered a pet peeve that I did not know I had.
People who spoil shows and movies are really annoying, but also people who correct your grammar when texting.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't ever be correcting people's grammar unless they paid
It's
you
rude.
to edit your
It's
stuff.
fucking rude.
Like,
It's rude.
If I want to
you know what I meant?
send something like
Then there we
really
go.
quickly and like I'm sorry, my fingers are fat. Deal with it. Like you don't have to like
what are you? My like 4th grade English teacher? Get off my job.
Yeah.
It's a text. Get out of here.
I'm gonna go with people who spoil shows and movies. If you could dye your hair any color, what would it be? Red, purple, blue, black, white.
What if you have dyed your hair all
No, I'm like,
colors?
what color is my hair right now?
Maybe like
Red.
what you would color it next. Like,
I was actually gonna color it green next. But I guess
Since we're doing
I
current
was gonna
vibe.
go pink, but the pink's not on there, so I'll go with red because that's what it is now and close
I'll
to
go
pink.
with blue because that's like my usual vibe. Is blue.
I'm going with purple. I like purple.
I guess I'll go blue. Have never dyed my hair.
This next question's kind of depressing.
What is your circle of friends like? I have one best friend. Small group of close friends. I float amongst several groups of friends. What friends? My family is my best friend.
I'm gonna go with small group of close friends. That seems
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Same.
with that.
I mean, My sister is my best friend, so I'm gonna go with my family as my best friend and also over pandemic, who have I spent the most time with?
Yeah. You. I spent the most time with you guys.
Well, okay, yeah, that is also true.
Lizzie, that's who I spend most of my time with. All right.
What's your favorite meal of the day? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snacks?
Snacks,
I find it very
100%
important to
snacks.
note that there is a gif of Inu eating
Yeah.
noodles.
I'm gonna go with snacks because that's basically what I eat all day. I don't really eat full meals. I snack.
Same.
I'm going with lunch because lunch is typically the meal that I eat by myself, so I can make whatever I want, and I don't have to worry about anybody else and what they like and what they can eat. So lunch is nice for me.
Ooh, this next one's gonna be
This next one's hard. This next one's a hard one.
Oh, shoot.
Who's your favorite OST queen? We've got Baek Ji-young, Ben, Ailey, Yoon Murray, Gummy, Lin, or Daviti.
I'm gonna go with Ailey.
I'm gonna
Let's
go with
go with
Yoon
Ailey.
Murray because
Oh God,
she's my girl.
They're all great
Gummy.
options. There's no wrong answer here.
Yeah.
Gosh,
I'm gonna go with Baek Ji-young.
Ailey.
Yeah, that's who I went with too. Good answer. Good answer. The next question is, which of these houses would you want to live in? And they've presented us with an option of 5 houses. One is sort of a modern cubist style house with a pool. The next one's a very like traditional white picket fence, cute little like suburban.
It's got a very
Victorian
Anne of
style
Green
thing.
Gables kind of thing happening.
Old
The next one
converted
I would
church too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The next one I would describe as like a fun little witch cottage.
Yeah, this
Fun
is
little
cottage
It's very
core, for
English
sure.
cottage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one is like a
Iceland.
seaside, like
Iceland.
Newfoundland house.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And the last one appears to be like, I would describe it as like an Irish farmhouse.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah.
maybe a barn, like reconstruction
like
or
converted
something.
barn
Like
or something.
converted barn.
I'm gonna go with the little witch cottage.
Yeah,
Me
I'm
too.
totally going
It's
with
cute.
that
That
one.
It's so
looks cute as
cute.
hell.
It's
That looks
just
cute as hell.
I'm going with the like thing with the mountain in the back.
You got the good views.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Oh,
no.
now what's your
Now we're
favorite
getting
K
into
drama
the nitty gritty.
movie genre?
Ooh.
Okay, first option, romance drama. Second option, romantic comedy. I applaud the fact that those are two separate options.
Mhm,
Because those
mhm.
are two separate genres.
Crime mystery, horror thriller, comedy, or sci-fi fantasy.
Oh
boy.
gosh.
I'm gonna go with sci-fi fantasy. That's my.
Yeah, I feel
Uh.
like I feel like I watch more
But I do like crime.
romance and rom-com, but like
No.
oh, when the sci-fi fantasy hits, it hits so good. I love it
Yeah,
so much.
I'm-
Like I try it, I'll try it all.
Like, let's be honest, I like all of these genres, but
Yeah,
I'm gonna
it-
go with sci-fi fantasy.
Oh god.
Oh.
I'm not going to go with comedy. I've realized that about myself, typically. I'll go sci-fi fantasy.
Oh my gosh.
All right, Jesse, is it crime or is it horror? Is it crime or is it horror?
Jesse is literally right now that gif of the guy sweating like with the 2 buttons. Like, what do I press?
Here's what
Man.
here's what'll make you feel good. After this, your result will pop up, so you won't
Okay.
have to
Last
make
question.
another choice.
All right, I'm gonna go with crime mystery, I guess.
Who wants
Okay.
to go first? What did we
How
get?
about we go in age order? Go ahead, Amanda.
All right, I've got Ailey's Goodbye My Love from Fated to Love You.
That's what I got too.
That's
Gone
what I got
through
too.
some major heartbreak.
Why am I
Because
the left? What?
What if we all picked sci-fi fantasy?
It was
You
probably
did
that genre
just that
thing.
final like
Do
question.
you know what's kind of funny about Fated to Love You? Is that this was the first drama that my husband watched with me, and he was like all in it, and he was like really enjoying it until the dark turn happened, because you know how the dark turn happens in all these dramas, and then he was like, "The fuck is this?" It's like, no, this is an unacceptable plot development.
So Amanda, go ahead and read the thing at the
Okay.
bottom.
So you've definitely gone through some major heartbreak, which is probably why you're relating to this OST. The lyrics and melody are so heart-wrenching and will provide a beautiful background music to some good journal writing and crying it out. Don't worry, you're never alone.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
Jesse, what did you get?
So I got Gaho's Start Over from Itaewon Class.
Love that song. Love that
And
song.
the description is absolutely not correct. Like it cannot be like not even close to being correct. These days, you're exuding vibes that are hopeful. You're a glass half full kind of person, and there's always light at the end of the tunnel, which is why you're so fun to have around. Keep shining that light and bring positivity into the world.
That's right, Jesse. Keep
None
shining,
of that is like,
keep shining
none of
that
it.
beacon of light for the other people in the world.
If this is the light in the world, I'm sorry. Like,
also, like the song that I got doesn't really go with me ever. I do not cry things out generally. Like, I'm not a very emotional person.
I don't feel like any of the answers that I gave were answers that were like, you're a heartbreak person. Like I
want to see if I
well,
like.
it's just, we don't need to look too deeply into this. It's just a silly, fun suit.
Yeah, it's just fun. And you can always go back and like change some of your answers and see what you got different. You know, I always like to do that because I want to see like what all the
mechanics
are,
of it.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if
I used
this,
to like,
but keep this. What will happen?
You know, sometimes there's those quiz websites that it's where you go build a quiz or something.
Yeah.
And back in the day, you know, they were pretty stripped down and stuff. They didn't have pictures or anything. What was nice about those is typically at the end it would show like, here were all your options. I always liked just being able to look at those.
I just went through it again and like I changed from crime to horror and it gave me the same song.
That doesn't make sense though.
Well, I mean, if she did all the other same things, right? One change maybe wouldn't be enough to trigger a difference.
But
I don't know.
I almost picked like everything that Natalia picked. That's also a thing.
True.
Listen, change your answer to sci-fi fantasy. See what comes up.
Right.
This is the only question that matters. This is the last question.
Change it to sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah.
Ailey's Goodbye My Love from Faded to Life.
One of us.
The funny thing though, like if you had to guess what that result would come from, you would think that would be the romance drama option.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like
where
but like both the like darker genres led to
did
the
not pop out
happier.
of
Yeah.
Shine that light.
I'm trying to see
That's
like
funny.
other options were Narazo's Bong Hwan from Mr. Queen.
I didn't know Narazo did a Mr. Queen song. That's awesome.
That makes sense. It feels like
It
the right
does.
vibe.
That feels right.
You're totally giving off a vibe that's screaming, what is up with my life right now? You're pretty unsure about a lot of things in your life. And much like Bong Hwan, you were a bit confused at everything that's going around you. But that's okay.
Well,
just like Bong Hwan did with such class, you'll be able to get things sorted out and live a peaceful life.
Sure.
Oh, you could have gotten I'm Your Psycho from It's Okay Not to Be Okay.
Oh, I love that song.
Oh, and then there's You and I from Weightlifting Fairy. Maybe that's it.
Well,
Oh, you got Chanyeol Stay With Me.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, great song.
Chanyeol's really, really good. Like
He's a really good OST guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of our favorites, shall we go through a few of our favorites? Perhaps a couple of our all-time favorites, and then maybe a couple of our favorites of OSTs from this year. Perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we?
I think so. Sounds good.
So Amanda, what do we want to start with, like all-time favorites? Give us one or two of your all-time.
Right. All-time, like I already mentioned, Satellite by Salt and Paper. I love that one. Love. Let me see. What else? Oh, it's so hard because I love so many OSTs. I'm going to go with one that I haven't talked about yet, but we sort of mentioned, I love Search by Elaine from Search WWW.
Mhm.
Such a good
that's
song.
one
Such
of
a good
those
song.
songs that like it played enough during the drama that it's iconic. You hear that opening,
Mhm.
ba, 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 you know, and you're like, yes, okay, Search WW. There we are, right? Like, you know it, but like not so much that you were like, burn this song with fire before you were done. So just the right amount.
What about you, Jesse? What are some of your
Um,
all-time faves?
So it's my all-time fave is the one we talked about, which is She's He Isn't Worth It from Behind Your
Mhm.
Smile. It is an incredible song. She is also very good in general for OSTs. She's done a lot of them.
Mhm.
She's gotten really popular. She's great. Then probably also Soyuz I Miss You from Goblin soundtrack. It's just such a pretty
Oh,
song.
yeah.
Mm.
But I will say, like, as a runner-up, it's not really, it's an OST song, but it's not really an OST song. So
Yeah.
Day 6 did the ending credit song for the OST of Repeat. K-drama version of it just came out last year. So If is the song, but it was already on their Japanese album too. So it's not really like a thing that they wrote for the show.
So we had like previously mentioned a lot of my all-time favorites, like, you know, like My Romeo by Jesse and For You by B2B from Cinderella, and, you know, Stay With Me channel, you know, Start Over, 8 o'clock class, got out. Like, we mentioned all those. So I wanted to mention two that I love that we hadn't mentioned yet. One is Heartbeat by Saran, which was from the Strong Woman Do Bong Soon.
Yes.
So good.
Excellent. And another one that was from the Moon Lovers soundtrack, that's by Three of My Sweet Children, is For You by, well, technically it's by XOCBX, but they just put it as Baekhyun, Chen, and Jimin.
Yeah.
Who are the three members of XOCBX. And Baekhyun was, of course, in Moon Lovers, so it was like a little, you know, direct thing. It's a beautiful little ballad. The Moon Lovers soundtrack is pretty good, like pretty good wise. So yeah, those are two of my you know, big ones. What about you, Sky?
So for me, I have to mention, I'm going to mention a specific song, but the Lois Lawyer soundtrack for me is always like that's an example of like, probably if that show had different music in it, I would have enjoyed it a lot less.
Yeah.
It is a good show. It really, really is. But since it's all about corruption and all this stuff, but since it had fun rock music throughout the whole thing, it made me have fun with that way, way, way more. So the main song from that, Burn It Up by I Am Not, I have played that song so much. Like, it's just a great catch-all song. So, but really that entire soundtrack is like just great rock music. Hey, okay. From The Player, Changer by The Vein.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yes.
I really love that song. So yeah, I do want to give a shout out, and you don't have to put this in the song list because no one else will actually want to listen to this music. But like the Secret Garden soundtrack is really important.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay. You don't know. Someone might want to listen to it.
No. It's very much for people who are just into that. It is not a spread that love around type song, but like
it is an acquired taste. And then
so yeah, those are my all times.
And as a final note, this year we've been stuck inside watching some dramas, which all had OSTs. So what are your top 2 picks of dramas that have come out so far this year that you say, man, that this song, it's a banger. All right. What about it, Amanda?
All right. Well, definitely for me right now, Inspector Coup, that whole soundtrack.
It's pretty good.
Mostly, I mean, half the soundtrack is songs by TRPP, and they're fantastic. And so, I mean, they're all good, but I'm going to go with the one that's kind of a bit more of like a main theme, I'd say, which is or I think it's called like Round and Round or something like that, but it's so good. I love it so much. And then I've got 2 written here, and one of them is like I like it better, but I feel like I might be stealing from Sky if I say it. So I'm
One of
gonna
mine,
go
my skills.
with Simon Dominic and like
Oh.
Now
And,
I'm
like,
curious
you know-
what it
Listen, if Sky, if you don't say it, Amanda, and after Sky's done, be like,
I
this was the song.
probably
Okay.
won't. I'm always
No.
bad about remembering the ones.
we'll see. I didn't watch this drama, Taxi Driver, but Simon Dominic had an OST for it called Runaway, and I just love this song. So yeah, I found it because it's Simon D. So hey.
Taxi Driver OST is my favorite of
It's
this year.
really good.
But I'm gonna actually I won't say something from Taxi Driver. I've got another pick, so it works out. So also, if it was Sky, I didn't take hers. Dark Hole has a phenomenal OST. I love the entire OST, but Xion and Dami from Dreamcatcher have a song called Shadow. It's like the ending credits song. It's really great. Like it's a good song, and you should all check it out. And then I haven't watched DP, but Chris's Chaser is so good. It's such a good song. I love it. I'm gonna assume it might be the opening credits. I don't know. I haven't seen the show, so but it's great. It's definitely something you should check out.
So my two picks for this year are from two of the shows that I actually enjoyed the most this year. So the first one is from the monthly magazine Home, which was a fun little rom-com that has a really good soundtrack. Like the entire soundtrack, fantastic. But one of my new children actually had a song on the soundtrack, and that would be Woods. And his song is called There For You. And it is like, it's a nice little, like, sweet little vibe. The whole soundtrack to the whole show is fantastic. Do recommend. Now I go in a completely different genre and vibe for the next one, and that is from the Vincenzo soundtrack. Vincenzo being literally one of my top shows this year.
Vincenzo was a good OST.
It was a good OST, and it was from Solar from Mamamoo, who did what I don't want to call it the main theme because it didn't, but it is the main theme of the show, and it's called Adrenaline. And it's not only do they have Solar singing the Korean version, there's another singer who sings it in Italian. So there's two versions of the same song in two languages. Cool. It's called Adrenaline. And Vincenzo, great show, great soundtrack. And listen, who doesn't love Mamamoo, you know?
Yeah.
Well, apparently people who hate feminists. She's just a Mamamoo loving feminist. That's right. What about you, Sky? What were your picks?
So I do think that I got taken because you said Silenced by YB, Jesse. Isn't that what you said?
No.
Oh, you didn't. So we picked different because I heard
Chaser by DP or Chaser by Chris on the DP soundtrack.
Okay.
So Silenced by YB for the Taxi Driver soundtrack.
Okay.
Evidently was one of my top played songs of the year, like by a lot, I guess.
Okay.
But it really, really is a good song. In Ruin by Raiden, from the You Are My Spring soundtrack. Just really, really good song.
Did she say the song?
No,
Amanda?
she didn't. So I'm gonna mention it too, just because I know Sky loved this drama so much. So I was worried that maybe I would have.
I'm sure I'm going to be kicking myself.
I Gotcha by Jung Young Hwa from Sell Your Haunted House. That theme from that, I really.
That's a good soundtrack in general.
Yeah. So
my Taxi Driver song was the Sanhav's Moonlight. That one's my favorite. I love that soundtrack.
It's such a good soundtrack.
So good.
I guess one thing we can say is sometimes it is hard to find soundtrack songs. If you're ever really stumped, just try to Google or search on Twitter to see if anyone else has mentioned it. Like if you're struggling to find it on your streaming site or something.
There is a YouTube channel. I don't think they're actually official. I'm pretty sure they just like upload stuff. I don't know if they're actually official, but it's like K-drama OST or something. I'll have it linked in the blog post, but they usually are pretty good at like keeping it up to date on putting out the Korean ones.
Or you can just do what I do. You turn on Shazam when you're watching the dramas, and it'll just tell you what you're listening to.
What am I listening to?
Oh, Siri does it too, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I
Does
think
Google do it
Shazam,
too?
But yeah,
I don't know.
it should.
Now I'm
I
curious.
listen.
Yeah, I suspect it might.
Is Shazam the old school way now? I didn't
think
even know.
Listen, now I'm feeling a little old. I'm
No, Siri does it through Shazam.
Oh, I see. I see.
Oh, okay.
Shazam's still relevant.
Oh yeah, no, they do other stuff too. Because what was it? You had to Shazam a Monster X song and it unlocks something or something like that. I don't remember. They're still doing stuff. I don't know.
Shazam is still relevant. Thank God.
Even more than just like, what's this song playing?
Because Shazam's been around for a long
Like
time.
if I'm watching a show that has like a lot of music in it, there's like a way to turn Shazam on so that it will just like keep listening to whatever you're listening to, and we'll just keep record. Well, I haven't done it in a while, but it used to be this way, and it would just leave you a list of all the stuff you listen to.
That's cool.
That was my old method of finding out what music was on my OSTs before Spotify became so big.
We used to do like musical bingo at this like brewery in town, and they were like, listen guys, we don't care how you figure out what the songs are. It's bingo, like, just, so like one girl at a table would always, like, it was always so noisy because it's a bar, right? But they would play these songs and she'd have Shazam on her phone and she would just like hold it up as close to the speakers as she could so that like above people's voices, and then she'd like drop it down. She'd be like, okay, it's this one, who's got it, right? And then okay, so
that's funny.
but they were like, we don't really care, we just want you to drink. Like,
yeah, we just want you to pay us money for booze.
yeah.
Anyway, if you want to hear the songs that we talked about, there will be a Spotify playlist that has all of these on our Certified Nuna Spotify. You're welcome to, befriend us on the Spotify app. We always have playlists of all the stuff we talk about. And you can also listen to the podcast there or anywhere else that podcast can be found. But if you want links and everything, you're going to have to go to certifiednunas.com to find links and time codes to everything that we talked about and all the episodes. Every single episode is there. Every single one. And we've been going at this for a while. You can find links and time codes to every single episode. That's wild. It's wild. We have so if you're a new listener, don't worry.
We've got
I hope you have
we
time
got you covered,
because we've got quite a catalog for you. If you want to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/certifiednunas to become a member of the official certified Found Family. Found Family is the best people on the internet. They rock and we love them, and we have fun stuff over there, all little extras that get cut out of the episodes, some fun little downloads. We have a movie night with their Found Family every month. It's a good time. So if you want to support us, that is the best way to do it, and we love all of our Found Family, and they are the MVPs of this podcast. And if you want to reach out on social media, we're on pretty much all social medias, but mostly Twitter and Instagram. It's always at Certified Nunas, one word. And we love hearing from people. But if you want to talk like in depth about stuff, we have a Discord server. That's right. We have a Discord where you have all sorts of fun discussions. And like we talk about all sorts of stuff, and we get a little wild over there on the Discord. We got little gifts and everything. It's good times. It's good times on the Discord. Anyway, we hope to hear from you soon. We hope that you're all staying safe, and maybe sit down and listen to some good OSTs this week while you're sitting there, figuring out what to buy people for Christmas if you celebrate. It's a good soundtrack to that. Anyway, we hope you have a fantastic week. You stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask, and keep enjoying Asian entertainment. Bye.
Bye.